All right, y'all. Welcome to another Tuesday Mastermind call. We've got another special guest today. KD is in the house. If you guys are not following KD on TikTok, you need to. Maybe if you have time or we have time, KD, you can put some contact information in the chat, how people
Yeah.
can connect with you. But I think that would be good. You're a great follow and a inspirational follow, I think, for folks that are still, I think, what is it fair to say? I mean, most agents are really starting to put themselves out there maybe on social, but it's not consistent. We all have this consistency problem. And I mean, you're just pounding that rock. But just real quick before we get started on the 5 questions, how many pieces are you posting every single day?
Almost. I'd started probably about 2 years ago doing this, and I would say around 4 to 5 videos a week. Now, one of these questions I'm going to go over with, I talked to my wife yesterday. So starting yesterday, I'm going to try to put out a video every single day for the next year.
All right, so
So
I don't want to get
ramp
too
up a
far
little
ahead
bit
of
more.
ourselves here, but it must be working if that's the case.
It definitely is.
Okay.
And so before we kind of go over, I just want to kind of talk about, just to introduce myself just a little
Yeah,
back.
that's great. I
So
love that.
I've been in real estate now for a little over 3.5 years. Before I got started in real estate, I was a college football coach. I did that for about 5 or 6 years. My wife and I had a baby, and it was just really tough, coaching and, you know, being with my family, especially with how football has changed over these last, 5 years. I mean, it's crazy. So I was working at South Alabama in Mobile, and our head coach got fired. And if you know anything about football, usually when a new head coach comes in, they clean house. So, I mean, every single person from the coordinators to the secretaries was gone. Everybody got fired. So I still wanted to coach. It was what I always wanted to do. So I had a couple opportunities that I thought were going to work out that just didn't. And it was like one thing after another wasn't working out. And I just kind of felt like that was a sign from God, like, hey, you need to do something different. This isn't what, isn't what you need to do. So I had a friend that coached with me. He transitioned into real estate in Montgomery, talked to him about it. My mother-in-law has been a transaction coordinator for a long time. So decided I'd give it a try. I did it part-time for a year because I had to make some money. And once I was able to kind of get some deals going together, string them along, then I decided to jump into it full time. So I've been doing it full time for about 2.5 years, um, which is kind of one of the things. So, I'll probably talk a lot about social media over this call, but I'm sure like a lot of people on here, I had a friend that played with me and he does real estate in South Florida. And every single day when I got on my phone, I saw his videos. I mean, it was like every day. And so I called him up and just same thing. Hey, is this doing any business for you? Is this working? I see your videos all the time. Are you getting any business out of this? And he said about 80% of his business came straight from social media. And we all know we need to do stuff and put videos out there. But when I heard that, I was like, okay, I just need to do it. Didn't feel comfortable doing videos, didn't feel comfortable doing social media, but I was like, all right, I'm just going to do it, see if it works for me. Because I was kind of at a crossroads where, like, what am I going to do for lead generation? I tried different things, didn't really like it, never really had a consistent flow of lead generation. And so, it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to commit to it, go all in on social media. And, if this career doesn't work out, I'll do something else. And so that was kind of my, turning point. So I decided to go all in about almost 2 years ago doing social media.
So, and been in the business a total of how many years?
3.5, did it for a year part-time. So this is 2.5 years full-time.
And where are you from? Are you from Baldwin County?
No, I'm not. So my dad is also a football coach. So I've kind of grown up all over the place. Was born in Florida. We lived in Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Oklahoma. But I've been in Alabama for the last, I guess, 15 years now. Lived in North Alabama for about 5 or 6 years. Moved to Troy, which is kind of like the central south part of Alabama. for 10 years. So finished up high school, college, and then a little after college. My wife is from Baldwin County.
Okay.
So when we moved to Mobile, we were around her family. And then, she didn't really want to leave. I liked it down here. So we decided to move, a little bit more south into like Foley, Gulf Shores.
Yeah. So really getting started in real estate with a relatively small sphere of influence, it sounds like. I mean, you're probably
Oh, yeah,
contacts in Mobile, your wife's friends and family kind of working that angle. So you really needed to get your name out there with social.
for sure. Because,
Yeah.
I have a lot of contacts, but, most of them are coaches. And so they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's allowed me to kind of meet, people. I have a lot of connections that I don't necessarily know until I start talking to somebody just because I've been to all these places. So really just a way to kind of get my name out there and face out there.
All right. Well, let's get to the five questions. Question
Yeah.
number one. So what are you doing to stay motivated so that you can finish strong and start fast? Because I don't see you taking a break. And you just said you're going to start ramping up your social. So do you have big goals? How do you stay consistent with that?
Like I said, I've tried to do 4 to 5 videos over the last 2 years. One thing that I think helps me just stay motivated and doing business is like the first thing that I get up in the morning is I change my voicemail every single day. So it forces me to
Hmm,
get up and do something. So
interesting.
every single day I will do my voicemail and I'll say, basically my name, so my spiel will be, hi, you've reached KD Edenfield with Well House Real Estate. Today is Tuesday, November 12th. It's a great day down here on the Gulf Coast. I'll be meeting with clients throughout the day. Please leave me a message. I'll get back with you by 7 p.m. So every single day I say today's date, um, and the day of the week. And so it forces me to, get up, change my voicemail and start doing something because, I don't know if it's a big deal, but I kind of feel embarrassed if somebody calls me and I haven't changed it. And it's like, hey, are you working today?
Hmm.
So it forces me to get up and do something right away.
So has it become part of your kind of reputation or
Oh
an
yeah.
expectation from people?
Yeah, because I've definitely had people where I'd miss their phone call and they'd say they, one of the things they talk about is your voicemail. Like, hey, do you do that every single day? Yep, I try to. Now, on the weekend, sometimes if I'm not, I might miss a good day or two on the weekend, but usually during the week, Monday through Friday and Saturday, I try to change it every single day. And so that's just one little thing that I think everybody can do. It's not hard at all. It takes 15 seconds of your time, but it makes it seem like, hey, you're on top of it.
It's kind of like that's how you're clocking in
Exactly.
every day.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I'm going to try to post it going forward. I'm going to try to post a video every single day, starting yesterday, which, isn't far off from what I'm doing, but it's just a little bit more content that I'm putting out. Um, when I first started doing it, you can go back and watch the videos, but a lot of it's, green screen content. Um, and I've kind of gradually grown. I still do mostly green screen content, but I got a drone recently, so I've started shooting drone videos, adding in there. I just got like a 360 camera to do virtual tours for Zillow, that kind of stuff. So kind of gradually just adding a little bit more things to it.
And I would imagine the social media, there's also an expectation there. I mean, you've developed a following, and so if you don't, if you miss some days with putting out content, people are probably like, "What's, you feeling okay? Like,
Oh
where you
yeah,
at?" That kind of
yeah.
thing.
So I try to post. Obviously on TikTok is probably my main source of leads is what I've done, but I also post on Instagram, Facebook. I'm trying to get a little more consistent on X because I think that might be a potential place um, to get some more clients, and then LinkedIn, sporadically. I think going towards this next year, some goals that I have for myself is I want to start doing some more long form content on YouTube, just to, see if it could help me. You know, I haven't gotten many leads from Facebook and, some of the other ones, but TikTok has done very well for me. But I've talked to other people where they don't get anything off TikTok and they get stuff off Instagram or they get stuff off Facebook. But I try to just post the same thing. Maybe I need to switch it up. So, but I post the same content on all of them. It's easy for me to do. It doesn't take any more effort.
Well, that's one of those things. Like you'll run into social media influencers that are saying like all your content needs to be different on all
Yeah,
platforms. But like I had something that I put on TikTok the other day. This does not happen often, but it got like 55,000 views. I put it on Instagram and it got like less than 100.
right. You
So
just
I
never know.
you never know. All right, so let's. I think Blake has got a good point here, and I think this is relevant to question number one in terms of motivation. But if you were not getting leads, if you weren't generating leads, or those leads were not ultimately turning into closed transactions, I think that would kind of diminish your motivation
Definitely.
to make these videos. So, can you remember how long it took, a couple years
I
ago?
really can't, but I know it took a while. I mean, it took several months,
Yeah.
but you know, it kind of comes with it reminds me a little bit about football when I was coaching. You've got to figure out a process that you believe works. So when I talked to my friend and saw that he was being successful doing it, I believed it worked. And so I decided I'm going to commit to it and do it. And, one of the questions about, consistency, and it's hard to keep doing it when you're not seeing results right away. But if you have something that you believe that's going to work, as long as you do it long enough, it's going to start bringing some results in. It's just like that compounding interest effect. And so you got to figure out a process that you believe and trust, and you just got to keep doing it. And eventually it's going to pay off. Now it could be soon, it could take a year, it could take 6 months, you never know. I mean, I've talked to agents when they first get started, they've got 5 deals happening right away. I didn't have my first, transaction until I was almost a year into it.
How are these
So it's going
people
to be different for everybody.
how are they reaching out to you? Are people calling you, or you put your phone number out there on in the description of
Yeah,
every piece, or are they DMing you? How are they reaching out to you?
it's been a mixture. So I have my phone number on there. I also have a link tree that you can click on in my bio. I have that on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and then DM. So it's been a mixture between somebody will send me a DM. I've had people just call me, and then I've had people go on my link tree and just kind of fill out like a contact form, and then I'll give them a call right after that.
Interesting. Yeah, I've not set up. I've had a link tree forever. I don't have a contact form set up, so I need to do that. I've noticed like
Yeah,
your primary like website you're advertising, is this correct? It goes to Linktree,
correct.
that KD
Yep. So
Edenfield.com Linktree.
Yep. So it goes to my link tree, and I've got 5 or 6 links. I mean, I had some different ones when I was with EXP that went to like my KV Core website. So if wherever you're at, if you've got a CRM, it can go to that. But what I have right now on there is basically 3 contact forms. One of them's like contact me. One of them is, I don't remember the exact words, but thinking about selling your home or condo. Another one is, about the buying aspect. And then I've got one that goes to my TikTok because, some people might click on it through Facebook or Instagram. So I've got one that goes to TikTok, and then I've got another one that goes to my Google reviews.
I'm gonna have to dive in a little bit deeper on your Linktree. I can't remember. Do you remember how much Linktree costs? It's very affordable. I know that.
It's $9 a month.
$9 a month. Yeah.
And
All
I'm
right.
sure you could probably get a little bit cheaper if you did an annual plan.
All right. Let me just before we go into question number two, you do. Is it fair to say you do a mixture of lifestyle content with like real estate marketing content, like property
Yes.
marketing content?
I'd probably say more lifestyle than real estate. I don't know the exact percentages, but I'd probably say 60-40 maybe.
So you're doing like, hey, these are the
Lifestyle.
top seafood restaurants in Gulf Shores, Orange Beach.
Yep.
These are even like the top menu items, right?
Yes. So I'll do basically any kind of genre, or I don't know the correct term, of restaurant, whether that be seafood, steak, quick service, Mexican, I break them down into small categories because, when you're posting 4 to 5 videos a week, you need a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So I try to make each video as small as I can. That way it gives me more stuff to talk about. So I'll do stuff like that. I'll do, what's going on down here this weekend, events going on, things that are in the news down here, just anything.
Well, what I have heard from, I think, a couple mentors is that, unless people are in a buying or selling cycle, they're really not all that concerned about, a new
The
listing
real
or,
estate.
yeah, or the interest rates for that matter. I mean, they're just not, yeah, but they love to know, like, hey, where can I go tonight or this weekend to see live music? I'm
Right.
wondering if do you wait for people to call you or DM you, or if they say, "Hey KD, man, that video was really helpful. We went to, C and Suds and love the salad bar. Thank you so much for the recommendation." Do
Yeah.
you reach out to them and go, "Hey, keep me in mind if you have any real estate needs," that kind of thing, or
I don't, but that's probably something I need to start doing.
well, maybe not. I mean, that's the thing. Maybe they don't like it because it could be
Yeah.
salesy and you just kind of keep it super cash. But do you try to engage with a lot of people that comment on your stuff?
Yeah, so what I try to do is every single time somebody comments, I comment back to them. I'll go and like whatever they commented, and then I'll comment back. Um, what I need to do a better job of is kind of carrying on the conversation. So, I saw somebody on YouTube talk about, whenever somebody comments back, comment, but comment with a question
Hmm.
to get them to comment one more time, just to kind of maybe help the algorithm and pushing your video and your content out there. So that's something I need to do a little bit better job of, is like keeping the conversation going one more step.
So there's another aspect of this here that I think that is important to highlight that, when we talk about what do real estate agents need to be doing consistently, networking is always on the list. And
This is networking.
this is what it is. So, like, are you going to networking events like Chamber of Commerce stuff and all that stuff?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So if and some people they light up a room when they go to that stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
one of them. And so this is a way that you can consistently network. And this is a problem I see with agents is that you'll see them post some highly engaging content. People are commenting, and there's no response. It's just
Right.
crickets. And so they're kind of missing the boat there. And so they're not going to get the results that you're seeing without treating it like it's what it is, a 24/7 networking event. That's what social is.
Right. And
Love it.
you're talking about, kind of the sales aspect of it. And I just kind of think about myself. If I'm, when I'm looking at stuff on Amazon, or I see a video for a product, very rarely do I buy it right then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch some more videos on it and find out some more about it before I make that purchase. And so that's one thing that I think is going to help me, is just putting out so much stuff. I've had several people where they've came to me and said, "Hey, I've been following you for a while. I have not seen one time where they've maybe have commented on something or sent me a message, but all of a sudden they just call me up. See you in a long time, and I don't necessarily realize it, just because they may not have commented or said anything, but at some point, they feel like they've known me, and gotten to know me through the videos and feel comfortable just calling me."
This is an interesting question. Have you ever picked up a lead from shooting content? Like you're out there in the field shooting and people are like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Spark up a conversation, that kind of thing.
I have not.
That's probably
Um,
coming since you're getting away from the green screen a little bit and getting more
yeah.
into the field.
Now I've been out before, and I've had people come up to me like, "Hey, are you that guy off TikTok?" So I've had that, but it's never been like while I'm doing something.
What is
Maybe
your
I'm out
response?
eating or
What
something
what
like
is your
that,
typical response when somebody approaches you in public?
and says something like that.
Yeah, it says like, "Hey, are you the guy?" And do you just go like, "Yeah, I'm the guy. Thanks for watching." Keep on walking, or you stop and really try to have a meaningful conversation with them?
Yeah, I try to stop and have a conversation with them. A lot of the times it's people that are, vacationing down here. And so, I'll talk to them and, "Hey, where have you gone to eat?" Or, "What have y'all done so far?" Things like that.
All right, let's get to question number two. In addition to that kind of daily voicemail, or this is another way you can answer it, Katie, because you've been at a couple different brokerages now, and I'm sure you have seen, observed, or maybe even have friends in the industry that just struggle with being consistent. They probably go like, how do you make all these videos, KD? And so what do you think it is with them? Do you think they're not treating it like a job? Do they treat it like a hobby? What have you observed as being some of the big issues with why agents struggle with consistency?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is one of the best parts about being a real estate agent is the freedom. And if you don't have somebody telling you what to do, a lot of the times it's so hard to do it. Because most of the time, you know, uh, at least that I found is not everybody, I'd say the majority of people have not grown up in a family where somebody's a real estate agent. Most people, they've probably done something else and then transitioned to being a real estate agent, or, they might know somebody that has an entrepreneurial background. So it's a lot of people are used to a boss or somebody telling them what to do, or like, hey, we need, this list of items done. And I think it's easy if somebody gives you a list of items and they're expecting it, it's easy for you to do it, or a lot easier for you to do it. It's hard when you have the freedom to do whatever you want. I mean, you can go out and do anything. And so it's tough, to try to stay on top of it. I think that's one thing. And then the next thing I think is, a lot of the times you don't see results right away. With some other sales type jobs, you might make a sales call and get the deal right then. Or, if you're selling cars, you might talk to somebody in the parking lot and sell a car right then. Very rarely will you do that here. I mean, I'd probably say never. You might do it once your whole entire life. Very rarely are you going to make a deal right then. And
Well,
so a lot of the times it's hard to stay consistent if you're not seeing the results.
who's your boss? What do you lean on as an accountability partner? Is your wife very mean?
No, she's not. She just lets me do whatever. I'd say for me, it's kind of more internal. Um, I think when people are real estate agents, sometimes they might have a spouse that, brings in a good amount of money. And so if they're not making any deals happen, sometimes they can kind of lean on them some. My wife has a good job, but it doesn't bring in a bunch of money. It's more for her flexibility. She works remotely, which she loves. So for me, if I didn't make any money, it would be very hard for us. So I think that's kind of one thing.
Well, Blake and I can't remember, all the particulars around this, but, um, you know, I just really can't remember where this came from, but athletes,
Yeah.
it was brought to our attention that athletes make great salespeople. And if you can get somebody from the sports world, Blake, I don't know if you remember where that came from or how we got onto that, but for a while there, recruiting wise, we were like, wondering if, really looking for people with an athletic background. But
Yeah.
I know, isn't it true? Like coaches work their asses off, right? I mean, you work a ton of hours, it's
That
high
was the
stress.
most hours I ever worked and got paid nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
me and my wife were talking about this, and I don't want to get political, but you can see it. Me and her were talking about inflation.
Hmm.
So before I got into real estate, when I was with South Alabama coaching, I made $7,500 a year, and she made around what she was making now.
Wow.
And we lived pretty comfortably. We weren't going out and doing vacations and things like that, but we weren't struggling. Well, if we would make that much money now, we would be struggling very badly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was only 3 years ago. And so, I don't even remember what I was talking about, but coaching, I mean, I
Yeah.
worked 7 days a week. You start in spring ball, so April, May, and it is just about 7 days a week through the end of the year. You'll have a few weeks off for summer and Christmas break, but for the most part, it's almost 365 days making no money until
Yeah.
you hit it big time. So that to
Well,
me, I mean, I've got so much more freedom now.
and the more real estate is one of these careers where the more you put in, the more you get back out. And I'm sure that drives you. You're like, well, I could be, this is what I always think about is like I could just be kind of doing busy work or going out and kind of farting around. But,
Yeah.
instead of, doing binging a series on Netflix, I could be doing something that yields, 10, $15,000.
And a lot of that too, I think about when I was coaching is there's so many aspects of coaching where it's just some of the stuff's just busy work.
Yeah.
And when I jumped into this, I didn't want to just be working just to work. If I'm going to be doing something, it needs to lead to more business. So I'm not just going to keep myself busy by just doing random things. I'm going to make sure what I'm doing is high quality output that it's going to get something in return for doing it.
So just to clarify, do you see most agents around you, in Baldwin County, the ones that you associate with, they they're just kind of punch drunk off this freedom, right? They can't be
Yeah.
disciplined knowing that they could just, or it's always like, today I'm going to take it
Right.
easy, tomorrow I'm going to clock in. Is that what you're
And
seeing?
wherever you live, you're going to have some stuff that you can go and be doing. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to where I live next to the beach, so I can go to the beach every single day. So, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of distractions down here.
So are you like, so go moving into question number three, is your content creation, like, do you shoot videos, edit them, do all this stuff kind of the same time every day?
Not necessarily the same time, just because it kind of depends on, if I've got showings or appointments. Um, if I've got, what I try to do is on Monday, if I'm free, I try to knock out 5 or 6 videos if I can. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes I'm just having to knock it quick that day. But what I did when I first started was I got on my notes app on my phone and I typed out anything that I could possibly think of to make a video.
Mm.
I mean, a long list of stuff. And as I went and did one, I would just delete it. And so the hardest part in the filming and editing, the hardest part is figuring out what you're going to do and what you're going to say. And so I try to just give myself a ton of ideas at the beginning, and then gradually I'll go back and add more ideas of if I think about something, if I'm laying in bed, I think about something, I'll just type it down. That way, it gives me a list of stuff to talk about. When I was first doing it, all of it was just coming off the top of my head, and it was tough. And so
Yeah.
now what I've done a little bit is I'll get in Chat GPT and I'll just give it some information of what I want to talk about. Um, and it kind of give me the words, and then I'll go and change it up to how I talk.
Yeah.
But that's helped me some as far as figuring out some things to say.
Well, I think that's a good point too, that it's gotten easier.
Yeah.
It's gotten way easier than when you first started, and it's just, it's kind of that compound effect. So, it's interesting. Do you do any outbound prospecting, or does the vast majority of your business inbound?
The vast majority is inbound.
All right. So, that's pretty different than what we preach around here.
Right.
But so I know, just like you do, I know several people that will say that 80% of their business comes from social, and that's all they do. They're not doing any outbound prospecting. Um, would you say this? Okay, so another thing that I think agents struggle with, um, in terms of like consistency and things like that, and getting, you know, uh, finding themselves, I think, falling victim to the freedom,
Hmm.
is things like they'll just say, well, gosh, there's no inventory. Or,
Yeah.
during the COVID frenzy, it's like, what's the point of trying to put in an offer on a property? The clients aren't ever going to get it. Or now it's like the interest rates are too high, or it's like, man, there's no point in trying to sell real estate till after the election. They just use all these things.
Yeah.
What about the consistency of the inbound opportunities? Like, has that stayed pretty consistent? Does it lull? Do
Yeah.
you
It still
have,
lulls. I mean,
yeah.
there's still months where I'll get a bunch and months where I won't get hardly any. But you got to think of when I'm putting these videos out there, it's almost outbound. It's a little bit active prospecting, prospecting, but also some passive prospecting. And so I think the goal always is let's get your face in front of as many people as you can. And whether that be you going out and door knocking, you might hit 100 houses and see, 100 people, 80 people. Or you might call up, 20 for sale by owners and maybe get face to face one or two of them. So what I think's helped me is these videos because I'll have, whether it be 100 people see my face or 500,000 people see my face. And over time, it's just compounding. The thing that I like about TikTok is, and I don't know the science behind all their algorithm and all that stuff, but the people that are seeing my videos are people that who have consistently watched my videos, but also stuff about my area, whether that be vacationing down here, buying a property down here, relocating down here, where should we go and eat when we're down there? So I'm trying to put out as much information as I can about my area. That way, when they get on their phone and they're looking up where they should go eat or what they should go do, they're seeing my face over and over.
Do you feel like your business is somewhat bulletproof because of the consistency of content that you deploy? Like, do you wake up worried about interest rates and worried about what the market's going to do, that kind of thing?
I don't. I don't. And I was doing this the other day. So I got on Instagram and I just typed in Orange Beach Realtor and Gulf Shores Realtor and just started, looking down the For You page. And if you do that in your area, I guarantee you probably only see about 5 people posting stuff. And about 3 of those 5 people is just a social media graphic. And so there is so much market space and potential for you to go in and take it over wherever you're at. I mean, if you go, I'll go and I'll look at bigger cities like Atlanta, Denver, Miami, because a lot of times they're doing stuff, I'd say a little bit before, probably most of us in our areas where we're doing that. So you can get some ideas from other people and just kind of cater to what you're doing. But there's hardly anybody out there doing it. And so there's huge potential for you to just go in and capture it.
Well, there's people on this call, that don't have their cameras turned on that I know freaking hate making phone calls. They hate
Yes,
phone
and I did the
prospecting,
same
cold
thing.
calling, all that stuff. And so to hear
Hey,
you say that, I mean, these people might get out of the business one day just out of the fear of the phone and all that stuff and the anxiety around it, which is very, very real. We've all felt it. I've talked about it a ton, you
yeah,
know. And so it's just, I would be very excited if I was on this call going, listen to this guy. I mean, it sounds like just about 100. I mean, I don't know. Would you say 90% of your business comes from this? I mean, I'm sure you're
I
getting
would
some.
say probably I don't have the numbers to prove this, but I'd say about 50 or 60 come straight from this, like people that I have never met before in my entire life. I'd say probably another 20 to 30% come from acquaintances or, people that I know but just don't really have a great connection with, but they've just seen my face over and over and over and feel like I know what I'm talking about. And so they call me up. And then I'll have a small portion of, my sphere, people that I know.
Yeah, and repeat
But for the most
business.
part, it's people that I don't know or people that I don't know very well.
And are you putting these people in a database? How are you keeping up with these people?
So I did do that. Um, and one of the things that I did, which I stopped doing because it didn't really help me much. I didn't get anything off of it. But another thing that I had been doing was, I don't know if you've heard of like the Bomb Bomb app.
Yeah.
And it's basically like a video email or whatever. And so what I would do is I would send a weekly email to my database um, of my videos. So I'd pick a couple of videos and I'd send them to them once a week. I didn't really get anything off that, so I stopped doing it. But for the most part, I kind of just keep an Excel spreadsheet of names. With my brokers now, it's a little bit different. I don't have, I've had Boomtown in the past. I've had KV Core. where you can, send links and kind of add people that way. But mine that I'm with now is, it's a little bit different. We don't really do that much. So I don't really have something like that probably a lot of people do. I just kind of keep an Excel spreadsheet, and I feel like it's made me be a little bit more personal instead of
I can see that.
most of it automated, which, automated works too. It's just didn't work for me.
What are you comfortable sharing with like in terms of like what you may make this year? I mean, and if you're not at all, I totally get it.
No, I'll be fine. So right now I've done, I think, around a little over 7.5 million in volume, and I've got some stuff in the works where I should get over 10 this year, which will be my best year I've ever had. Last year I did around 5 or 6, so it's growing almost 2x every single year.
Love it. So what's exciting, I think, for you is that you got a lot of different options. What happened with Andrew, for instance, is that, Andrew, very analytical guy. He's very personal, very fun guy, but he's kind of become the face of the business, and he's built a team around this
Yeah,
consistent content that he deploys. And so the team members may never be comfortable getting in front of the camera the way he does, but they'll dial. And so there's so many ways that you can, you know, 2x your business from other, different avenues like phone prospecting or,
yeah.
maybe developing a database down the road and hiring a virtual assistant to make the calls. There's just a lot of different ways to
There's
diversify
so
to
many
grow
different
this.
things that you can do.
But I
So
think if
many.
I'm hearing this, if I could do, there's a lot of agents that would just be like, man, if I could do 5 million a year from just putting out 5 or 6 videos a week, bring
Yeah.
it on. I'm that would be awesome.
Like when I
So
talked to my friend, I mean, he was the one that made me start doing it. He said he had done, I think at the time that I had talked to him, he had done over 6 million straight from social media that year. And so it obviously works. We know it works. Um, I think a lot of it's just not being comfortable doing it. I never posted on social media. I was one of those people that, I have Instagram and had Facebook. I didn't even have TikTok before I started posting videos. And, you just scroll and look at stuff. So, I mean, everybody's on there. You just got to do it. I mean,
all right, we got to get
that's
rolling. So we have a little time for Q&A here. I knew we'd
yeah.
get in the weeds with all this stuff, but so are you trying to stay Foley South, like Foley, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores? Or are you trying to make Fairhope videos and Mobile videos and all this other stuff?
Yeah, I've done some Fairhope stuff. I've done some Pensacola stuff. I've had my most success with Gulf Shores and Orange Beach.
Is that where you try to have like, so, I mean, in terms of this question number 4, do you have a niche or specialization? I think the niche is content,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, specialization may be lifestyle. It's
yeah,
lifestyle
I'd say
content.
so.
You think that's
And
fair?
yeah, and I try to go out. I have not taken, um, I've not taken any money from anybody of like, hey, will you promote my business? Will you, make a video about my restaurant? There's probably some, you could probably do that and make some money that
Are
way.
they reaching out
But
to you though? Business owners going, hey, please come to my place, the business, make one of those videos?
no, I've had people do that before and like, hey, will you make an advertising video for, my business or restaurant? I haven't done any of that stuff. I try to just keep it my opinion, and everybody's got their own opinion, but I try to just give what I think about it. And I don't post any negative experiences. I just try to uplift and, you know, bring positivity to everything that I'm highlighting. And so, like you said, most of it's been, restaurants, things to do, highlighting different small businesses around the area, things like that.
All right. Well, you already answered number 5. I feel like the majority of your transactions are
Yeah.
coming from this content, or 60%, and so you broke down the percentages for us already. So let's open it up to questions. If you want to put them in the chat, then I can answer them, or I can ask KD for you and he'll answer them, or just raise your hand and go from there. You don't even have to put the little yellow hand up. You can just do this. Now, Blake, you should have Blake's you should know this, Katie. Blake is very down on social. So he's a phone prospector at heart.
Yeah.
Uh, I have a
Different
lot, that's
folks, man.
probably my fault, but he's a guy I think that, it has the personality, has the creativity. He struggles with the words, the
Yeah.
descriptions and what to say. And so he's very familiar with Chat GPT, and that's been a great tool for him.
Well, I
Um,
think the good thing about TikTok is your videos don't have to be long.
yeah,
Like most of mine starting off were 20 seconds, and it would be, here's the top 5 seafood restaurants, and I would just say the top 5. I wouldn't go into detail about favorite food there or anything like that. It would just be, here are these 5 places. And that's stuff, if you've been living in an area a little bit longer than a year or something, I mean, you've probably gone to several places and you can say what you like and don't like. And it's not necessarily that they have to be the best. They don't have to be the best. Some of the best engagement that I've had where people disagreeing,
yeah,
because sometimes those blow up where you've got 20 people saying, no, those restaurants suck. These are my top 5 favorite, or this is the best one in the area. How did you not say this one? So it doesn't even have to be right. I mean, it's just your opinion. Who cares?
Mhm.
Blake, are we going to see you start putting out 5 to 6 pieces of content a week?
I listen, anything's possible. Be reviewing Applebee's. But yeah, I think what it comes down to is whatever way you go. The key I'm taking away from KD and everything else is nothing's easy, and consistency is key, which I know everybody on this call's heard Jason. I know I've said it till I'm blue in the face, is I've said you don't have to be good if you're consistent.
Right.
No
And if you
timeline.
do it over time, you're going to get better at whatever you do.
Mhm.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, we have a lot. I mean, the goal is to have a lot of people, a lot of different voices, on these calls that are doing a lot of different things. And the thing is, find your lane. So
Exactly.
Blake's lane is phone prospecting. He can do the numbers you're doing with the phone. He doesn't
Right.
have to make these videos, but if he did, the 6 million becomes 12 million, you get it. But I like this for agents that haven't found their lane, or maybe just have not heard from somebody like you. They don't have that friend in South Florida that says, hey man, I'm doing 6 million just for my
Right.
content. It works. Just trust me and dig your heels in and do it. And that's all you needed to hear to go, well, if it works for him, it could work for me.
Exactly.
Because these agents, they need money. They need to make money. And
And
they
I
need,
was, kind of the opposite of like, I hated making phone calls. Absolutely hated it. And so you got to figure out what works for you and what you enjoy doing. And like I said, I didn't enjoy doing the videos at the beginning, but as I started doing it, I like doing it. It's fun for me. And so you got to figure out what you like to do, and then you got to commit to it and be consistent at it.
you can definitely see the evolution in your content because, I mean, if you go back and look at your early videos, you can kind of tell you're uncomfortable. Now you kind of got this
Yeah.
swagger about you and you look very comfortable on camera. But I think it's important to people to hear that, I think people give us props for doing this because they themselves would, rather walk on nails than make a video. And so, they give us props for getting outside of our comfort zone. But even people that, are top influencers on social will tell you, man, go back and watch my first, you know,
Oh yeah,
uh,
mine were
yeah,
terrible.
yeah. It is a process, to get there.
And all you got
Uh,
to do, so I got a $15 tripod at Amazon, a little ring camera, set it up, go to a space in your house or wherever you're at. If it takes you 20 takes, it used to take me a ton of takes. But just go in there and film yourself. That's all you got to do. I mean, you don't need anybody else to help you. Set it up on the ring camera tripod, hit record, and then you can cut whatever you need to cut.
and you're getting buyer and seller opportunities from this, or
You
mainly
know what?
buyers?
When I first started doing it, I'd say mostly buyers. Now I feel like I'm getting a lot more sellers. And another thing that I've done is I'll post, these videos in Facebook groups. Now, some of them have kind of restricted what you can post, like, you know, a lot of them are using it for advertising now, but there's still some Facebook groups where you can go in there and post stuff. So I've posted stuff on Facebook groups just to kind of get my face around, you know, a local audience. But it's also given me tools when I go in listing appointments. I will print off the last 90 days of views and engagement that I've had on TikTok. Same thing with Instagram, and I'll go right up to them. And part of my listing presentation is I'm going to be able to get more eyes on your property than anybody else.
Mm.
And here's the numbers that you can see. Um, and I mean, sometimes it's like 500,000 views in the last 90 days. And so, you know, that's one of my things where I'm showing them. I might not be able to, you know, I can't guarantee that I'm going to sell your house, but I can guarantee that I'm going to get a ton of eyes on it.
I'm so glad we went there with that, because that may be one of the most powerful points made today. Nobody's got any questions?
No, I mean, that was my only point. Was I think it's been an echoing thing going on these calls. Is just the amount of people that think if they're talking to me, they're talking about, oh, I don't want to do social media. I just want to dial. And I reverb, you know, it's consistency, right? You have to make 50, 60, $70 a day, getting nothing. People that talk to you or somebody that would talk to KD would say, oh, I don't want to dial. I want to do videos.
Yeah.
But to make the amount of videos that it's going to take to see the growth that comes with it.
And I would watch YouTube videos of other people before I started doing it. And, you know, same thing, you hear consistency. For me, I felt like I could consistently put out 4 to 5 videos a week. For some people, it might only be 2 or 3. But if you do 2 or 3 videos a week over the course of a year, you've just put out a ton of content. So whatever you feel comfortable doing, whether that be, I think it needs to be more than 1 a week, but if you could do 2 or 3 videos a week and you just put it out over time, it's going to add up.
Hey, we got a question from Kristen. She wants to know what type of content gets the most engagement, the most response.
I'd say like the restaurant type stuff. I'd say that gets the most kind of engagement. You know, like I said, the best kind is when people disagree with you.
Well, I mean, I could go to your TikTok channel right after this call, start looking at your videos that are performing the best.
Yeah.
And like Kristen's in Myrtle Beach. So she could just go, hey, this video did really, really well. I'm just going to recreate that for Myrtle Beach.
Exactly.
Very similar markets, beach market. You know, they got more miles of beach than we do. So that obviously they got more restaurants and more lifestyle things to kind of focus on.
And the thing is, you never know what is going to do well. I mean, I did a video, Gulf Shores is building a brand new high school, and all I did was screen record the video that they put out, and I just kind of talked over it, highlighted some features of the new school, and that video did almost 1 million views. And it's, I mean, nothing crazy that I did. I'm just kind of repeating some of the information that, you know, they're putting out there.
Yeah,
and most of it's people talking about why is Gulf Shore spending all this money on a school, and you know, this is crazy, and I wish I went to a school like that, you know, stuff like that. But I mean, any engagement is good.
Yeah, it's just going to drive up the algorithm.
Exactly.
But I would say this, you know, kind of in closing is, you know, it sounds to me like you're having fun.
Oh yeah, I've enjoyed doing this, and it makes it a lot more easier to do when you enjoy doing it.
All right. So how many real estate agents, if we were able to take a poll, could say, you know, they're on track to do anywhere from 6 to 10 million this year, that level of volume is not the result of cold calling or even warm calling. So very little to no phone prospecting. You feel like you've created a business, as long as you stay consistent with the content, that is insulated from things like interest rates and low inventory and buyer's market, seller's market, all these different things. And, you know, you're just having fun out there creating content, and the business is growing as a result of it. What would that do to your stress level, your anxiety level? Lower those down. So that goes down, lifestyle goes up. I'm sure, well, hopefully you guys are taking some vacations now.
We
And
went
you're,
on our first one this year.
yeah, so, and your wife is, I know, wives particularly, the biggest stressor in a relationship is often financial stress, but
Right.
when you've got money in the bank, that just, I'm sure that really feeds your relationship in a positive way. And
Oh yeah.
so it's just going to take off from there,
And the thing
especially,
about the videos is they last forever.
yeah, it's,
So
it's,
the video that you make yesterday, you could still go watch that in 5 years.
hmm.
And so over time, you've been doing it 2 to 3 videos a week for a year. Now you've done it for 3 years. You've got 1,000 videos, and that they're there. So people can go watch it at any time. Somebody from 3 years in the future might watch a video that you made yesterday, and it might lead them to watching more of your content. So, I mean, it's just continually, you know, building on each other.
Katie, this has been great, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
I hope people are taking what you're saying to heart and they're going to be like, I'm going to start today. I'm going to make my first video today and, keep it consistent and keep it going. Because the thing about this, you know, think about what you're doing right now and the results you're generating from that. Most of it's not working. This is a lane that you can get in that will work. Like Katie said, there's a ton of market share left to be had in this medium. And so go get it. But keep coming back to these calls because we're going to have a lot of people that are doing a lot of different things. And the goal here is to help you find your lane so that you can, achieve this. I would say, in addition to sustainability, in this industry, but have a career that feeds the lifestyle that you want or that you're dreaming about. So, Katie, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks for reaching out.
All right, you guys. I'll see you next week.